committee. It was called No Tax for Tracks for fighting a sales tax for light rail. Special interest, light rail. In fact, my son in his Common Core 9th grade class that I was telling you about earlier, in one of the exams, he had to read a 2-paragraph excerpt that talked about high-speed rail and how all the development around the rail line was going to bring economic activity and jobs. This was in the Common Core course. And that's what I put out earlier. Here we go. Okay, so essentially conservatives view rail as it costs too much and it does too little. If you look at the amount of subsidies that go into a quote-unquote ride, the typical number is about 20% of that cost of that ride the actual rider or passenger is paying. That's the fare box revenue, is around 20%. Now it fluctuates up in New York City where transit is at the highest percentage of usage of the population. Even that is about 50 to 55% fare box recovery. So most that's why it doesn't pay for itself and highly subsidized form of transit. So we had a problem in 2010. We had special interests that wanted to fund light rail in the county, and typically they're the same interests as anywhere else. It's bankers, it's real estate developers, it's the Sierra Club that thinks that there's environmental benefits, that they're going to get you out of your car and ease pollution, which actually studies show that it does increase congestion. So that's where we were at. We had to, in the initial part, try and convince our county commission that we did not want this on the ballot. We had to convince 4 of them to vote no out of the 7. So the first phase of our campaign was to keep them off it. And again, what I'm talking about here, it's a success story. It's a grassroots campaign on a shoestring budget. This was on an issue, but this can be a candidate campaign too, so don't think that this can only be for issues. You can form a PAC and work either way. So our grassroots advocacy, we started visiting all the county commission meetings, obviously giving them 3 minutes. I'm sure all of you have done that. Nothing really brilliant here, just taking a lot of volunteers and commitment and organizing to get all this to happen. We did many email campaigns to them. Our organization, the Tampa 912 Project, hosted a debate with one of the Republican commissioners who was taking the lead on this tax hike. And we had another person that was in the community that at that time was, that had the most knowledge on the issue. Because, at that time we weren't real up to speed on it, but we just knew it was wrong. And just develop some relationships with your commissioner, get their phone, try and lobby them as much as you could. So we had a real late start getting going in that, and unfortunately we failed on that. They voted 4-3 to put that on the ballot. So then we entered into phase 2, where we had to convince the citizens of Hillsborough County to vote against this tax. We didn't know where to start back then. We didn't have anybody to tell us what to do, so we thought, you know what? The competition is forming a PAC called Moving Hillsborough Forward, and we're just going to do whatever they do. So we went to the supervisor. I mean, that's literally how we got started, and got their organizing documents, figured out they formed a PAC. Right now, you can easily do that by going to the Division of Elections website. There's a couple of forms. You have to name a campaign treasurer. You have to form a statement of organization. Not hard at all. I mean, they're one-page forms, but. So we just looked at what they did. So when I went down, at the time it wasn't electronic, I had to actually go down to the supervisor of elections office, and the reporting deadline had just finished, maybe a week after they had formed. So they only had one donation on the campaign finance report, and it was SunTrust Bank. I was shocked, because I had banked with SunTrust Bank for 15 years. They had just accepted $5 billion of bailout money. And they donated $50,000 of what I consider to be taxpayer dollars, because they had not repaid the Treasury a dime of it. So that again, not only was it expensive, but oh my gosh, this is wrong. This is taking taxpayer money to be used as a weapon against taxpayers. So I told you, we just said we're going to do whatever they're going to do. So 3 moms, we call ourselves the Suburban Moms Against the Rail Tax, or SMART Moms, started out the organization, and it ended up there were many, many other people that joined us. But we all donated $50 to get ours started. The point being here, this is a really grassroots effort. And looking at the total expenditures over the entire course of the campaign, we were outspent, I don't know, 25 down here, you can look at the chart and figure out. They raised $1.6 million for one county. You couldn't turn on the TV without seeing their ads. You couldn't open up the mail without getting a mailer. Not only that, they had other taxpayer-funded agencies doing it. We have an NPO, a Metropolitan Planning Organization. They printed up like a parade-style insert that they sent out in the mail, and listing all the good that's going to come from this extra sales tax. So really, this really only tells a partial picture. So we knew we couldn't do it alone, and like the presentation earlier of Ron about the elections that y'all did such a good job of, you form coalitions. You can't do it alone. You've got to get others to join. So like I said, we started out, we were the Smart Moms, and we realized that this rail line was in the urban area of the city, and they were going to benefit most. So we looked into the suburbs and the rural areas to find some partnerships. Luckily, we were pretty connected with the Tea Party, looking for fiscal conservatives anywhere we could to join us. There were some sympathetic political candidates, and as you know, they're on the campaign trail, and so they actually, some of them did a very good job. We kind of informed each other on the issue, and were able to kind of stay on message. Now, this was interesting. I know you mentioned you had a Democrats for Carter coalition. We went, again, we're following them. Wherever they go, we go. Well, they had gone into the inner city at one of their community centers and did a presentation, so we're going to go to the inner city and do one. And in that meeting, we met Connie Burton. Now, Connie Burton is a Uhuru socialist, but she realized that this sales tax was going to be a regressive tax, and it was also going to, typically what happens is all this money goes in to build a rail line, and it guts the bus service. It goes bankrupt. They never have enough money, and you have to keep the rail line going. And so she recognized that. And we also, in my presentation to them, I told them that in Los Angeles, the NAACP had sued because what they were doing is building rail into the white suburbs and then cutting all the bus service in the inner city. And if you look at who rides transit, it's usually not your most wealthiest people that need it. I believe in a social safety net to let them keep a job, stay on welfare, and as much as possible. So we formed an alliance, and with our meager funds, we were able to equip her with 300 signs, 2,000 flyers, and 15 T-shirts. And she had a group of inner city teen fathers that went out and put signs in areas I never ever would have worked on it. So coalition building, you never know who is going to be. We also had relationships with the bus union that were very helpful. And this just says miscellaneous. We solicited funds from automobile dealers and just tried to brainstorm who might be on our side, might have some money, because we had the grassroots, we didn't have any money. And we came up with what we think actually is a good model for success. If you have a strong local Tea Party, there are going to be some issues, state or national, that you can partner with national groups. But a lot of times you're not going to get people to come and help you if you are the Tea Party. By forming this PAC, we called it No Tax for Tracks, the transit dependents, business community, they were able to enter and work with us, maybe not with the Tea Party, but it kind of opens the door in a lot of ways. Some things like we had a real success here, just with our Tea Party showing up at a coalition commission meeting where they had not put the trash collection out to bid in 17 years, and we said it's time, to do it. So we were able to flood the market. Actually, we did coalition with a few other groups as well. We all came in there with our red shirts, And the papers had predicted it was going to, fail, that they had been bought out, but we ended up getting them to see it our way, 7-0. So, but definitely opening the door and allowing a place for these other people who may not be with you with the Tea Party, but they may be with you, it kind of forms a bridge so that you can all work together. So our very first tabling event was in July of 2010. We went to a Chamber of Commerce hobnob. The Chamber was very much into this tax hike. So they had that on their ballot, and they pulled 250 people. There was a cross-section of what I'd say the business community. It was 56% for the tax at that time. They had deep pockets, that $1.6 million organization. They were actually, the Tampa Bay Partnership is a very elite, high-end business organization that was funding and helping them. So they had deep pockets. They had a paid campaign manager, a paid communications director. That's all they did. They had multiple political consultants. They had grad students from USF that were earning college credit, all working for them. This is what I like to say is our shallow pockets structure to counter that. There were 2 or 3 of us that got really armed with the information, had a presentation down, and were able to go. And like I said, dogs, sometimes there were 2 or 3 events. We'd all split up and try and cover as much as we could of the community. In hindsight, we didn't have a dedicated fundraiser. We kind of did if this happens next time, what do we need? You really need somebody like a campaign finance committee that's all they do is they work on getting funds. Because we were able to raise some funds, but we squeaked by and thought that that's something that we needed to improve on. Stacy was our booking agent. She was great. She was calling up every homeowners association. Hey, this thing's on the ballot. Would you like to have our organization come and speak to you? So, getting out in front of the community as much as possible. We had we did some blogging, and a rapid response is the papers, both papers were for this. So every other day we're getting a pro-rail newspaper article. So we would do a rapid response. We'd go in and comment and make sure that if there's any spin that they put out, that we were countering it. Here's an example of the blog that we wrote on it. I talked about going out, offering to be a speaker, the club, be knowledgeable on it, attend all the events you can, and then hosting symposiums. And I'll show you a little bit about that, and door-to-door canvassing, which the earlier presentation talked about. That's key. It's vital. But what we were fortunate enough to have an organization called the American Dream Coalition having their annual conference with all the conservative transportation experts in Orlando. So we've gotten a hold of them, went over and met. One of the gentlemen was named Ed Brady. And those of you in Gainesville know Ed. And along with Randall O'Toole from the Cato Institute, we met Wendell, who worked with Reason and Heritage at the time. So we had an event, and this is afterwards, this event. There's Ed Brady right there. He came down from Gainesville to help us because he was very knowledgeable on the subject. That's Stacy Sharon, and then this is a candidate that was working with us against it. That's an ex-county commissioner, and this is Wendell and Randall. So we had a really nice event. Had a press release. We had press coverage there, and just raised the status. Any event you can go to, get at the table, signs, bumper stickers. There was a poll in October, and even though their lead had gone down to 51%, those that opposed, our position here at 39, supposedly 10% is undecided. I'm not sure I really take a whole lot of stock in the St. Pete Times poll because, where their meetings are. But that's what we had to go on. Earned media versus paid media. When you're a grassroots group and you don't have any money, you want to do whatever you can to get your name and your position out there in any way. So we would put out press releases when a think tank would come out with new studies on how transit doesn't pay and doesn't reduce congestion or air quality. We would write up a press release and send it to as many news people as we can, and we would get articles to counter this spin. Letters to the editor. We have 2 op-eds. So the press release to announce the event that I told you we had. A controversy. The bus agency was giving free rides on election day. We thought, that really wasn't kosher because the referendum directly benefited that organization. Down at the bottom, creating media relationships. Don't be afraid to talk to the press. That was one of my biggest fears initially is gosh, I don't want to talk to them. They're always biased and they're not going to print what I want. But when they write their stories, they have to appear to be balanced and pretend. So they will get certain quotes. Just when you do quote, be short, succinct, and don't give them any way to put whatever you have out of context if at all possible. Sometimes I would email a response to them, and that's how they would get their quote. That way you can control it a lot better. We did so many things. We were on local radio. We had a Florida this week. I debated the mayor. Sharon debated the commissioner and a former congressman. So we had plenty of opportunities. So if you put yourself out there as the opposition, they need you. They need you to appear balanced. We did sign waving. I've got some pictures. I told you about the letter to the editor. This is the debate that Sharon did. Sharon, that's Ed Brady again. He came down and helped her. We had two on our side. This is the commissioner, and this is ex-congressman Jim Davis, a Democrat, on the other side, that the Tampa Bay Business Journal did. Sign waving at the stadium during the Bucks game. We couldn't buy a whole lot of media, so we bought smaller niche papers. Remember I told you that we figured that the rural communities. So we found Farm and Ranch News, which was widely read, and we advertised there. Florida Sentinel is an inner city black newspaper, and so it cost a lot less than Times of the Trib. This actually was not our sign, but it actually is not compliant. And we did not know who put these up, but they saved money. They printed on the standard yard sign. They printed 4 messages and cut them into fourths. And then we figured the guy had to be tall, whoever was doing this, because he would go to that is a telephone pole, and he would put it up, get a 1 roofing nail, and it was as high as could be. And later out, we figured out who did it. And sure enough, he was a very tall gentleman, and he plastered. This sign, I actually took a picture of this. It was 2 years after the vote. This I took a picture in 2012, and it was still on a telephone pole that I drove by every day going to my house. So that's, I think they're all gone now. But so anyhow, simple message. And then our big expenditure is we did, sign up to do robocalls to. We did Democrats and Republicans. We just did as many people as we could to give our message out. So we were victorious. In the end, 58% voted against the tax versus when we started out, it was 56-4, so we kind of lopsided it a little bit. So what we've done since is normally they're going to come back, so you want to do what you can to try and keep them from coming back. We were very fortunate. Every 5 years, our county does a charter review committee, and it just so happened that they were winding it down, but we put in an amendment to amend our charter that said any future referendum that comes before the county, you have to have a financial impact statement, very similar to what our Florida Constitution has. And in 2012, it was on the ballot and it passed. So we've got that in our county. I lobbied when an opening came up on the HART board, the bus company, I lobbied the county commissioners, and I'm now on the transit board, and I'm offering a different perspective than the groupthink that had gone on prior. And I have to say, it's not new to me. We actually also got a new CEO that really turned the organization around, and we're not actively seeking light rail as a transit agency now. Others want to impose it on us, but HART is not. Sharon became so knowledgeable, she was asked to testify in front of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee up in Washington, D.C. So it's amazing what, if you really get interested and involved in a subject, or again, this is all can go to a candidate too, all of these things can relate. Keep those ongoing relationships with the officials, talk to them, keep that line of communication going, and remain vigilant because, the left never sleeps. They're always going to come back. So anyhow, that's it. I mean, some other things, become a subject matter expert. This is more for issue. This is actually from another presentation that I do. And then focus on other sub-issues. This, again, is more for the issue part of it. Some of this could transfer over to candidates as well. Yeah, there's plenty to keep us busy. So that this was a presentation that Sharon and I did that I thought I could share with you guys that the grassroots can do it. You know, we don't have to be afraid, and even if you don't know what you're doing, just jump in there. You know, our country is going down the tubes really quick, and we've all got to act quickly to save it. So that's all I have, but I appreciate your help, and we'll.
Now, what if you just provide some help for the candidates running phone banks and carrying, signs and things like that, and you don't spend any money, you don't collect any money? Are you nothing then? No. You're not a political organization of any kind. You
can do it two ways. You can send your people, hey, go to